I expect eUnited to be a really fast-paced team. Like if we want to beat them, we've got to match their pace. I think they're just going to be flying at us all the time, so we just got to match that.
Epsilon is a team I've seen in CWL Birmingham. I saw them play, some of their gameplay. It's really fast.
To beat eUnited, I think we just got to match their pace and just fly at them.
A lot of teams kind of struggle with different personalities, different play styles. Their probably best attribute is the fact that they're probably all on the same page and they all know what they want to do. If we win our S&Ds, I have no problem bringing it to a Game 5.
I feel like we can beat eUnited if we go last map, win one series maybe, and with the next series, I think we'd take them 3-1 or 3-0.
So it seems that Gunless has Epsilon figured out. He says they're going to play fast, and that is exactly the plan here for Epsilon in day number 2. Before we jump into this matchup, let's talk a little bit about Epsilon and how they got here today. They finished day 1 1-1, but their only win was that 3-0 blowout over Millennium. How strong is this team overall? We've been watching them over in Birmingham. We've seen them struggle over in the MLG Open brackets. But where is this team right now? Where did you see them at the end of last night?
I think they're decent. It's one of those things that their strengths kind of match up with the North American team's strengths. So their hardpoint is pretty good. Their uplink is solid, but their search and destroy against Millennium looked great, but otherwise than that, looked a little bit lackluster. Room for improvement at the very least. So when you're going toe-to-toe and your best opportunity is slaying, and you're going against a team like eUnited, that's a tough sell. It's going to be tough to pull out that kind of victory, but obviously, again, if United starts out even a little bit slow, Epsilon can take full advantage.
TP, one of the biggest things that jumped out to me on paper yesterday was the fact that eUnited can be outslayed and then casually still walk away with the hardpoint victories. Who do you need to shut down, though? If you're looking to beat this eUnited team, how do you get it done in this first hardpoint?
Well, you need to try and shut down Gunless as much as you can, but that's a tall order. Probably top 2 players in the game right now from what we've seen from him. I think the biggest thing that Epsilon needs to focus on, though, is I wouldn't be surprised if they take this first hardpoint, to be honest, and that's where they need to start. They need to get this momentum. But I think what most teams struggle with, especially versus eUnited, LG struggled to do it last night, is to really just close out the game. You can't give them any sort of chances. I think Epsilon needs to come out. If they lose that first hard point, I think it's going to be a 3-0 for eUnited. So it's that hard point.
And Felony, you and I were talking a little bit about Dave before the show kicked off. He had some incredible stats going up against Splice in the grand finals at Birmingham. Yesterday, Dave was kind of a no-show. In fact, at one point, he went 0-8 in a search and destroy, which his teammates still helped him win. What's going on with Dave, and do you think he's going to be able to turn it around here in day 2?
If they want to be eUnited, I think all 4 of them have to play consistent. Hardpoint scorched the first map. I believe that they're also going to run 2 submachine guns, so I think that might be a factor that eUnited hasn't seen from any North American teams. So I believe if they can win the first map, I think it could go a Game 5, but if eUnited starts off strong, I think it'll be a 3-0.
Here's some stats here from our Epsilon squad. When you look at all of their game types, they're pretty even spread, winning about 2 out of their 3 games in each mode. Overall, what do you think is the greatest strength for this Epsilon squad coming into this match against eUnited?
Specifically against eUnited, definitely the uplink. So when we saw Millennium play eUnited, they battered them. It was like 15-4, if I remember correctly. So I don't think 3-0 is necessarily the right call. Definitely want to favor eUnited, but I think that uplink is going to be a very tough road. Epsilon probably even has the edge. So again, if they come out hot and get that first respawn, they're going to be in a fantastic position to be able to take this series.
And TP, we're cheering on the European teams here today. They were at the bottom of the leaderboard trying to climb back up. Final thoughts here on Epsilon. Who was their star player in day 1? And if you could draft any guy to your team in the future, who's the best player on this squad?
I don't know about best player overall, but yesterday Hockey was very impressive. I think there were several situations where his positioning was very good. I think this first hard point in Scorch in particular is going to help out Epsilon. They can come out hot.
Josh as well, at least against Millennium. Again, going against the North Americans, it was a vastly different story. But against Millennium, Josh was going off, putting up an absurd amount of numbers. Most kills in the lobby, most deaths in the lobby. He was doing it all. Most aggression we've probably seen so far this week, and he was doing it incredibly well. So if he can have a similar performance, that's MVP for sure, and that would be huge against United.
Josh is the veteran on this squad, the guy with all the accolades, but on the other side of the stage, they're going up against a team that has been in 2 grand finals, both in Atlanta and Dallas. They were the champions in Atlanta, with Gunless walking away with the MVP award. And when you look at their game types, you can see their strength. It's in the respawn hardpoint. Uplink has been iffy this week, and they're 1-1. Their search and destroy, though, they showed up big last night in that Game 5 versus Luminosity. If someone has never watched eUnited before, Felony, how would you describe this team?
They have great teamwork, they're fast-paced, and even if they're behind in slaying, they always keep the score close, and you can never count them out of a series.
TP, you said that Gunless is just weird. The guy doesn't crack under pressure. In fact, he handles it better than anyone that's been on our stage so far this weekend. What's a player like Gunless like? What's his mentality? How does he approach Call of Duty?
I think one of the biggest things to sort of add on to Felony's point is how calm this team is overall. We heard Gunless talk yesterday where they're down 0-2, and all of a sudden he's like, I just need to give my team a pep talk, and he's just so mellow about it, right? I think mellow is the best way to describe this team. Their communication's never over the top. They say what they need to say, when they need to say it, and obviously play pretty darn well also.
They started off with a lot of haters. eUnited has been winning over fans, and they're hoping to stay at the top of the leaderboard. Our game #1 hardpoint is just moments away, and we have our casters ready. Let's send it over to Mr. X and Maven.
Thank you, gentlemen. All right, this is a big series. I mean, when we take a look at this, if Epsilon's able to steal, that's monumental. And looking at their series later with Luminosity,
makes it even more important.
And if eUnited is able to win, I mean, they have firm control of first in this group.
Oh, without a doubt. And I think eUnited comes in, obviously, to this match, the heavy favorite. Epsilon, I'm looking at Josh on their side of things. I did some interviews with Marky B, and he kind of felt the difference between Millennium and Epsilon was that he was a little bit more consistent than Josh, and Josh has these big swings in games. Like, he has the potential to really have like a good game, or he has potential to really kind of hit that rock bottom. He can't do that against eUnited.
Well, think about yesterday. He struggled versus Luminosity, but then exploded. And you just heard how much louder they got, how much more hype the team was versus Millennium. If they can get that energy going in their first series today, it would be big. And, you know, they talked a lot about them needing to win this first map, but remember, they won the first map against Luminosity yesterday, and things kind of fell apart from there. So, yes, of course, map 1, huge, but can Epsilon keep that momentum going into the search?
Yeah, I mean, look, you always want to get off to a hot start, right? Win game #1. I think in terms of slaying, actually, obviously, you favor eUnited in this. You know, Dave and Hockey have been playing very well. You're looking at Vortex and Josh potentially step up, even the odds for the side of Epsilon. But Epsilon, I feel like they're quietly, you know, have become the second best team in Europe, which has made this group. I remember when we saw the groups come out and we were just like, oh, you know, this group should easily be Luminosity, should easily be eUnited that goes on through. And then Epsilon just kind of had this resurgence with Josh, you know, joining the team. And then now they've become the second best team in Europe, made this group very difficult.
Yeah, I know last week when we were talking about Birmingham and how scary this group got, you know, we felt for Millennium. We're like, God, Millennium was, you think, maybe in a pretty good spot to make some noise, but as soon as Epsilon erupted, you've seen how terrible this has become for Millennium early in the weekend. But it will be Scorch Hardpoint to kick things off. And I don't know, I think Epsilon, do they have the slaying power to keep up with Luminosity? Not really, but could they hang with the eUnited, a team that doesn't always rely on that slaying? I think they can. We're going to find out in this first game.
Something we have not seen yet. Just kind of racking my own brain. I can't really remember casting a game from Gunless where he's had a bad performance too.
He's pretty consistent.
Yeah, I mean, if you got a one bad game out of Gunless, that's a respawn you got to have to take if you're Epsilon.
All right, we were talking about Josh and that red dot he uses. First player gets gunned, but it's 2 coming in for eUnited as well. They turn focus, but Dave actually comes through and finds a couple to get things started here at the first hardpoint.
And Josh using that red dot sight, you see a lot of the other players opt not to use it, just gains a little bit more distance when he's aiming down sight. So that's why you see Josh use the different sight on his K-bar, and he's getting off to a very good start. You can hear him screaming in the venue. So already they're bringing that intensity that they brought yesterday against Millennium.
Dave starts out 3-0, same for Josh until he falls. Dave keeps it going, 275 now off the Trinity rocket, but it's Silly coming through with the 2-piece to now start to rack up a little bit of time for eUnited. You take a look at the mini-map here. It's Red holding the left side of the map for now. Pristini is going to be the one in a spot that needs to find some kills. They push out of observation deck, and that's exactly what he does. Finds 2 big ones, wrap backs, and finds a third. Pristini doing it all for his team. Silly backs him up, and those are huge kills as we get into Turbine.
He plays at such a fast pace, man. You see him there pick up 3 kills with ease. Silly now trying to watch for more players from Epsilon pushing over towards Turbine. It's going to be Vortex winning that one inside with the ERAD. Now you see Epsilon. They're spawning far away, but they do have a pinch set up. They need to go fast if they're going to take advantage of it.
Well, the reason they get that pinch, that forces the spawn out. So Silly spawns all the way out and is rotating back. They win a couple of gunfights, and now Epsilon is in, but it's gunless through the backside. One more player here to beat. Turns in, snaps, hasn't finished it yet, has some help. Josh will be traded out almost immediately. So still, every tick of this going the way of eUnited.
It's something you see Gunless do a lot when we go on board with him, is just use the slide. And I feel like he's one of the better players in the game with using it. I think it was talking to Aches about it, and he's saying, remember back to Advanced Warfare, how good Hoot was with the advanced movement, and being able to dash. You kind of compare, Gunless to him, and the fact that he's using that slide to such a powerful advantage that it's obviously given him huge wins in gunfights.
Well, movement overall, I think this team is just very strong. You saw RCDs do a nice wall bounce with a drone in hand yesterday. They're freaks, man. They do it all. They play well together as a team. And we'll see if they can continue to go here. But for now, inside a hangar, it'll be Dave set up. He's got the Scarab out, but he's going to need to get out of that. He's going to be the lone man, the hard point. The collapse now going to come in for eUnited. Dave, a ton of work to do. Tagged up with a grenade, almost immediately tries to get back to safety, and the timing works out beautifully for the first gunfight. His teammates coming in a little bit late as they spawned out to try and back him up. So the remaining time at least set up nicely here for eUnited and Gunless.
I feel like every time Epsilon's getting control of this hard point, or any of the hard points, that eUnited's just able to come in and break. See Josh picking up one here, but it's going to be Silly and Gunless in the feed, taking out the rest of the members of Epsilon. So even when Epsilon gets a few kills, it looks like they're going to break. They're just not able to do it. And if this is the way the hard point's going to go against eUnited, they're going to run away with this game.
Yeah, you had, what, a 4 streak from Silly, 5 streak from Gunless. Everybody's starting to get going here for eUnited. RCD's a bit slow off the start, but they're still doubling up their opponents right now. Now we're on with RCD's. The back shield keeping a player alive for a moment there, allowing several kills to come through for Epsilon. And now they're set up here at Drill. So Dave finds the final player in Ob's deck. He's set up close with this ERAD, should be able to find a couple of kills as they push through. Sees one go over the top, we'll call that out to his teammates. Has to back down as the Scarab is coming in. The Scarab bullet combo there, able to tear him down. Can eUnited get another easy break here?
Yeah, RCD follows up the Scarab real close, and they're able to get into the hard point for a quick second though. Josh able to take out Gunless. So this is actually a lot of good time being taken by Epsilon. We've seen a lot of teams of late, Maven, hold the Drill for a really long period of time.
And I know you talked a lot about the good play from Hockey yesterday. He's struggling a bit now. What did you like from him yesterday?
Well, I mean, yesterday in the respawns, he was their second best player, I thought. I thought he was just tremendous for them yesterday. Just picking up a lot of the slack. Sometimes Dave didn't have the best of games. I thought Hockey really picked up a lot in the slaying department for this Epsilon team. We'll go into the second rotation of Hills with eUnited in the lead. And going in the second half, I mean, you're really kind of looking at Hockey. If he can pick it up, this game can get a lot closer. And RC's, we kind of highlighted, he was, I believe, like 3-10 at one point, gets things back up to 7-11. So finishing out Drill strong. If he starts to heat up and the rest of eUnited plays like they are now, it's going to get ugly.
Yeah, I mean, they've kept the slaying pretty balanced at this point. I think eUnited ahead by 4 or so kills, so they have the advantage in the score as well. Silly finds one in Ob's deck, tries to back out and take out Josh as well. Josh will win that one. Josh actually, Vortex able to win another for Epsilon. Everybody battling here back and forth on the bridge. Dave will be the next up for Epsilon. You see on X-Ray a couple players on the backside. Silly is tagged up. He's got a couple players coming for him over the top. As he drops, the remaining ticks are going to go in. But look where Hockey is now. He's set up for Turbine. You just can't allow a quick break here. You've got to get a ton of time. You're right back in this game.
Yeah, you just kind of camp these corners, pick up a few kills on the rotation, you're in a good spot to take Turbine. And you see at the bottom of your screen, Silly's going to get one. They use the Scarab. They'll probably follow this up with some grenades, or Silly going to come over the top, pick up one more. 2 big intro kills there from Silly. It's going to allow his teammates to just trade the rest of these kills out. eUnited with a break instantly.
Yep, it's exactly what you couldn't allow to happen. That was brilliant play with the Scarab. That's the second time we've seen them play behind that, tag up a player in a power position, then finish him quickly with a bullet or two. Fantastic stuff from eUnited. They continue to rack up time. I like the sneaky position from RCD's. He at least cuts down one. Make sure you can't have a full 4-man retake. Let's see if the other 3 from eUnited can get it done. They soar through, but it's proceeding on the backside. Nice shots from him, but the last remaining player will be Vortex. So 20 or so seconds to go. They'll get that time. They'll be trailing by about 50. But you need to do what eUnited did in the last round, where you have to get a quick break here at Hangar.
Without a doubt, but you see eUnited already set up 2 kills in the feed in their favor. They're going to get Hangar at the beginning. You see where Epsilon is. They should be able to take a good amount of time. And something we kind of, I don't want to say goes unnoticed or whatnot, but we kind of take it for granted. you see some of the kills going in favor of eUnited here, is, Gunless. He's so consistent. He's always got that active camo. It's never a question with eUnited of whether they're going to get active camo or not. And you can always win these games on the back of that ability.
The only time I can think about it was yesterday, Frost versus LG. Yeah. He didn't get it. It didn't matter. Classic had it for LG. They didn't allow him to get in a spot to use it. So despite the fact Gunless comes up a little bit short, they're still able to win the map. Silly was doing what he could, picked up a kill and an assist for his team. It was Pristini following him up from behind that was picking up the big kills. And now it seems like just a moment ago we were talking about Epsilon clawing back into this. Now between Turbine and Hangar, eUnited is in complete control. They're up 100 points.
I mean, you see Arcides jumped up to 13 and 15. So he was, what, 7 and 11, 7 and 12 when we mentioned, if he can kind of keep things going. So he's turned around a little bit in the second half. And Hockey really hasn't kind of brought it.
And on the other side, it was Dave and Josh that started really well for Epsilon, and they've slowed down. Both guys positive kind of through the first half. They've got crushed here in the second set of rotation. Silly trying to finish up a kill. That's 3 coming into the kill feed for Epsilon. Can they pick up a lot of time in drill? This is, kind of sneakily become one of your more money hills where you can actually rack up a lot of time with a proper setup, and Epsilon seems to have it now. The push is going to come through rocks and drill control as they come through. Josh is the one set up here. It's the red dot in the K-bar. He's been swapping kind of back and forth between that and the E-Rad throughout the game.
Yeah, and if you're eUnited here, I mean, you're not really too worried, right? I mean, Epsilon could take the rest of this time. You only need 30 seconds to close this game out. You have a lot of payload abilities to work with. You just do not want to give them score streaks here. Obviously, you don't want to give them even closer towards their payload abilities on the side of Epsilon. But as I say that, 3 kills from Gunless, 1 from Pristini, another from Silly. It's Pristini still pushing forward as eUnited gets a break in the last few seconds of drill.
All right, well, let's get back now to mid-map as we rotate to our third set. Silly in behind. 1 will get an assist. Looking for the players wrapping out from mid-map. Hasn't got eyes on a second yet. He'll get pushed and taken out by Dave. Gunless has had his camo locked and loaded for quite some time. You saw the reactive armor already used for their side, but they still have this to use. And with only needing 12 points, it seems like Epsilon will rely on a miracle here.
Yeah, Gunless able to get 1 with the E-Rad in his hand, slides on in observation, not able to pick up a second. You see Pristini trying to follow that out. It looks like eUnited just trying to push on through. Lockbee spawns on the back to see Pristini going on a flank here. Should be able to, not able to pick up the second one, but you see the spawns that he gave the rest of his team. They're spawning on that turbine side of the map.
Yeah, they have the spawn for it, and they only need those 12 ticks. And the scary part here is that even if you get a perfect break for Epsilon, you still have that camo to try and come through and counter for Gunless. So Dave's going to have to make a play with his camo. I take it back because he gets cut down, but you still have 5 seconds remaining. He should be able to spawn and get in the action. And with Gunless being the only man here, I wonder if Gunless decides to maybe pop his camo and make a play. No, he wisely retreats out and gets to his teammates. That was beautiful. Some players may have stayed there, died, not allowed for his team to do a 4v4 retake. Now here it goes. Camo's going to be out over the top, looking for the first one. Patient as always for the shots. Gets behind the drill as well to try and make a play. All the kills going the way of eUnited, and that should be it.
So what Gunless does there is he goes by the first guy, and he just waits long enough time because now the hill is contested, so that guy's looking around. Another player, I believe it's Arcees, comes into the hard point, kills the player in the left corner. Gunless then kills the player behind the box. A perfect execution there from eUnited as they take map number 1.
That's what we were worried about. When you get to that score line where you're around the 240 mark and you're just relying on 1 break, a smart play with camo can get that done. Gunless does it, despite the fact that Epsilon was set up early at Turbine, but at the end of the game, it just comes out of those payloads. It comes down to streaks if you have them available. Fantastic job from eUnited in taking that first game.
Look, obviously, game 1, huge for Epsilon. They were in it about halfway through, but just the slaying in the second half, they just were not able to keep up with eUnited.
Yeah, again, Dave and Josh started really strong. At one point when I mentioned it, the slaying was only, I think, 4 or 5 difference, but as the game kept going on, yeah, you saw eUnited heat up, and it reminds you of the last series a little bit, where you start out strong for Millennium, and then all of a sudden Luminosity starts roaring back in this. eUnited able to do similar, despite the fact they were in control pretty much throughout.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't really, it wasn't kind of the same thing, where I think eUnited definitely felt pretty good about that game going all the way through. Arcides played better in the second half. I saw him, start to pick up some kills. Pristini had a fantastic game as well. And they're extremely tough to beat, even when you're just getting like Gunless and like one of the other guys to really start to pick up some kills. When they're playing like that, I mean, that's got to be very difficult to go up against because they're so good with their ability to break. Like, I mean, you see that play there at the end, like with the camo and then the second player following up. Like, that's so hard to execute on the fly.
Well, we talk a lot about eUnited, how they've beat the haters throughout the year. For some of you that have maybe been following Call of Duty for a long time or new to it, there are a lot of unfamiliar faces here and making their names known. Let's see how they got to the Global Pro League.
eUnited is the breakout team of this Infinite Warfare season. Led by Silly, this squad has gone from being called online warriors to earning the respect of the entire community. Gunless, Pristini, and Arcides have all become household names in competitive Call of Duty, and give hope to any amateur or up-and-coming players looking to start their professional career. These 4 players weren't even a team until after the CWL Vegas Open. Silly failed to see success with his original eUnited lineup and formed his current roster prior to CWL Atlanta Open. Their immediate stellar online play in the CWL 2K Pro Point Series tournaments began to force people to take notice of this team. By the time Atlanta came around, all eyes were on eUnited to see if they could perform at a major LAN event. They wound up steamrolling all the teams that weekend, and they only dropped 1 series, and it was to Optic Gaming. They were crowned champions, and the doubters were silenced. Their incredible online performances, accompanied by the LAN championships in Atlanta, secured this team the 2nd seed in the North American Pro Point Battle. Their dramatic grand finals against Optic Gaming at the CWL Atlanta Open and the CWL Dallas Open will go down as some of the most exciting matches in Call of Duty history. They seem to be the only team that doesn't get blown out by Optic, as they have consistently traded series across the last few events. The duo of Arcides and Pristini have continued to play consistently well, while Gunless is the shining star of this team. Not only was he the CWL Atlanta Open MVP, but he dropped an incredible 18 kills in Game 5 of the first series of the final at Dallas. If this team can stay humble, continue working hard, and keep their focus on the game, then eUnited will certainly continue contending for championships throughout the rest of the year. Tune in May 5th to the 7th to see how eUnited performs in Stage 1 of the CWL Global Pro League.
I love what Rich says about stay humble. You see teams that explode like this, that kind of come out of nowhere, and sometimes, maybe if Gunless had more of an ego, if he let the winning get to his head, you see the chemistry start to be off, but they've kept the squad, they've kept being consistent, it's been great.
Nah, man, when you're like the amateur crew that's kind of come up into the pro ranks, I'm sure like a lot of the pros like want to be friends with them now, like kind of hang out. There's like definitely a little bit of like, well, I've always been this way. I've always been this good. Like, why weren't you showing me love before? I feel like there's a little bit, still like a chip on their shoulder for eUnited. You see the box score there, Gunless, absolute monster in game number 1.
What was it? Was his KD, was it a 2.0 he had in Search or in Hardpoint?
Search.
Oh, Search. Okay, so he's been great. I think the only one who's under a 1 was the Uplink, but he has been brilliant this weekend and really throughout the course of the year. But I just love, I had fears with this team that maybe some guy would get poached. Maybe a top team would try to take away Gunless from the squad and we'd see things fall apart, but they've stuck together, they keep fighting, and it's just been a beautiful team to watch it develop.
I mean, if you're them, why go to, you're beating everybody.
You should. But you've seen stuff like that happen.
Yeah.
You've seen stuff like that happen in sports, where it's like a basketball team, they kind of come out of nowhere, someone becomes like a superstar, next thing you know, he gets offered a bunch of money to go to another team and he's out of there.
OKC, a good minute and a half away from beating Golden State. And just jumping ship.
Yeah. But
I can't stand that stuff.
I had a fear for a little bit that maybe you'd see that happen, but they keep on grinding. Now on the other side, Dave and crew, Josh on your screen. They've got to bounce back in this search and destroy. And, you heard Chance talking on the desk. They weren't exactly stellar there yesterday. They crushed Millennium, but versus Luminosity didn't look good.
Yeah, I mean, look, with the way Millennium's playing, I don't know how much stock I put in that search and destroy. I mean, you lose one to Luminosity, who, I mean, granted, they do look better here this weekend, but historically, they've been very poor in the game mode. You go up against eUnited right now, it's very difficult.
And to be fair, that Epsilon victory over Millennium, I was talking to Marky B about it, and I mean, Marky B said the blame was entirely on them. It was nothing Epsilon did. They ended up, I think they won like a 1v2 and a couple 1v3s, something like that, and Marky B says, like, we should have beat them 6-1. We just let these rounds slip away. So you were relying on some heroics here for Epsilon. I don't think that's going to be a recipe for success to beat eUnited.
No, definitely not going to be making hero plays to take out eUnited. See there, Gunless. Getting ready. We've seen some insane S&D performances from him so far this year.
And, you mentioned it earlier, how consistent he is, being the camo player, the fact that he does always earn it. And then on the other side, you saw Dave's struggles yesterday when he went 0-8. On this Crusher Search and Destroy, if they're going to beat them, he has to go toe-to-toe with Gunless in some capacity.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, just taking a look at the maps to your retaliation search and destroy. That is one of eUnited's best S&Ds. We've seen that.
They won 100% of Dallas.
Yeah,
you
I
can
mean,
say it's good.
It's very good.
It was like 100% there and 0% on Scorch, something, and pretty solid everywhere else. But no, they are very good at retaliation.
I mean, the map draw is pretty good for eUnited coming into this one. And Crusher 1, you can get very aggressive with the ERAD submachine guns, and I think you look, Pristini just being very aggressive on the defensive side of things. We've seen him do it on maps like Throwback, where he goes in these long flanks, trying to make some individual plays. Maybe he can pull some of that here on Crusher.
Well, let's see what they're able to do. My eye's still going to be on Gunless after that game one, and just the way he uses movement. I mean, think of that play yesterday in Bike on retaliation, where he just like abused Saints. Like, just looks so difficult to kill. Always fantastic at playing his life, waiting on his teammates to go. But we are going to start off with him on the defensive end. We'll take a look at the minimap. It looks to be a hard hit here, coming towards you and towards the A bomb site.
Going to get tagged up with some nades. They have another player in the corner. It's going to be Silly, drawing first blood. Silly going to grab a second kill. Going to back out quickly in a 2v2.
Let's see if Silly can fight for the ace here. Needs to locate Vortex and Hockey. They're both pushing bridge right above him. They got out there a little bit early. They might have been able to catch some of the eUnited players from behind. Let's take a look at the Epsilon point of view now. They've wrapped this down to the B bomb site. Vortex immediately going to work on this plant. And now it's going to be a 2v2 retake for eUnited, and Silly still working on that ace.
You see Epsilon getting very aggressive, walking right into eUnited. And as soon as Silly sees one, puts a few bullets in, Vortex gets out of harm's way. A nice gunfight win there from Silly. Still working on the ace here.
Silly should have it. There it is in the corner. It's Arcides that finishes it, but a huge round for Silly as he finds 3 kills and the defuse, and he's going to basically have FTL jump here going into round 2.
Yeah, when Gunless gets tagged up in the corner, he slides out of the way. They have Silly in the top stairs, and they have another player sitting on top of the bomb that they can trade those kills out because they figure, hey, we got a guy weak. Let's go push him. Let's try and trade this out. They don't expect the guy to be there is the guy that's not weak.
Yeah,
you don't expect to stack 2 players in the corner.
It's another comment to, Gunless playing his life. Just gets out of dodge, gets tagged up, makes sure to play the bait on his life there. We're sticking with Silly as he has not dropped yet. Let's see what he can do it on the offensive side. He was getting it done with the K-bar in the first round. Going to swap over the NV4s towards this B side. He's able to tag up Hockey and back him up almost immediately.
You see Pristini mid-map. We talked about, maybe trying to go off on his own, make some plays. Gets caught out in the middle of the map. The rest of his teammates over on the B site. RC's evens it up at 3 players apiece. He's just going to back up, try and watch the site.
Let's see how they play from the post plant. It'll be Scarabout, got some vision, almost able to finish a player, but now RC's gets caught reloading, but it's Silly around the backside. Silly finding 2, just needs Dave now. He's tagged and on the edge. It's going to be a 1 versus 1. He has FTL to work with, doesn't even need it, as Silly now 6-0 to start. He is beasting on Epsilon.
He's been a big difference maker for this team. Back in Atlanta, did not have the best of event. They still go on and win, and Dallas, he was a huge reason why that team made the final.
Statistically, he was the best player. If you just
off of
stats,
yeah, if you're just off of stats, yes. But you do have Gunless making some big plays of camo and whatnot. But Silly, I think, in the last 2 events has been really tremendous for his team.
He's got Trinity, Bombardment, FTL jump. So many toys to work with now. It will be Dave finding that opening kill. Dave does start out nicely. So, we talked about the fact that he's going to need to play and match Gunless. He is going to have Dave is, 66% of the way to the camo? Gunless just found his first 2 kills. I was just about to say he's lagging behind as he starts to heat up. Drops, though. Kills going back and forth. It's another 1 versus 1 that goes the way of eUnited.
Both teams just flooding into that staircase. It's one of the odder S&D rounds. You see Gunless picks up 2 in the staircase. The players on Epsilon just keep charging up it. Finally able to take out Gunless. Arceus just slides in, picks up another one. But now, you have the streaks on the Silly. Gunless picks up 2 kills, starting to work towards camo. Yeah, things are not looking good for Epsilon here.
And talk to me about why streaks can be so important on this map. In S&D, I don't think back to last year, we saw streaks hurt teams sometimes. They play a little bit too slow around them, but this is a map where they can be really influential.
Yeah, when you go over towards the B site, obviously it's so open. You can use them on the defensive end. You can use it to open up an offensive play, maybe hover a missile over the B site, get the bomb down. You see, though, Epsilon in this round, Dave and Josh going on a flank. And as soon as those missiles come down, they're actually going to know where Dave and Josh are. So they have to give vision. Pristini's going to push in. He's going to be able to get one. But now eUnited knows exactly where the players on Epsilon are.
I'm surprised he solo hit that. If they got vision on 2 players, he must have only thought there was 1, but it does get traded out. And you do have 3v2 advantage. Josh and Dave going to have to try and clutch up. Gunless trying to get the edge, get the angle. Believe he saw he was stuck on it. Won't be able to get it in time as Gunless gets both kills. Started slow, ending strong.
He had to be very close to defusing that bomb. He was on it for a pretty long time, and
well, honestly,
Gunless just comes through, man.
If it was Dave there able to win that gunfight, that first one, I mean, I didn't see how close.
Oh, if he wins the first one, there's a very good chance he defuses that, yeah. But eUnited steamrolling through Epsilon in game 2, 4-0. Silly still has some score streaks, still has the FTL jump. Gunless, you talked about how he was not close to camo, now getting very close.
Yeah, he just exploded there, finding 4 kills. Kills going back and forth, though. Right now, it's another man advantage for eUnited. It's actually going to be Hockey all by himself. He's tagged to the back, trying to get away with his life. He's safe for the time being, but the clap should be coming in momentarily. There it is, 1 behind, 2 in front. 5-0 advantage for eUnited, and this is... I really hope for a long series here. Epsilon, they get a win, things become much more interesting. But this has not been pretty.
Just looks like that eUnited just playing at a much faster pace, where the game is just coming to Epsilon so much faster. Like when you go up against a team as good as eUnited, and you're kind of outmatched in a way, sometimes like the game just feels really fast, faster than it actually is. And you see Epsilon, it seems like these rounds just falling apart instantaneously. And you see 1 kill there, Hockey able to win 1 there against Silly. Silly probably thought he had him dead. So here's a round win for Epsilon. There you go. Get it on the board. They come through. They pick up the kills. They
yes!
on the board. Woohoo! All right, 5 more.
Just 5 more in a row. We've seen it happen a couple of times.
Indeed, we have.
Not many, though.
Nope.
Probably count them on both of your hands.
Probably. I don't have this.
I got Pat in my ear goes, I could pick a 1.
Oh. I know that one.
Oh, God.
Full Sail. Great place.
Yes, it was.
Hey, Orlando. Going to be COD champs.
That's true. That's true. Okay, here we go. It's round 7. Vortex hitting the wall run. You see a much more passive defense than I was about to say. It's probably because the streaks are thinking about being used. So he's going to have that bombardment, calls it in right on top. It's going to force everybody. Look at them bunched up right now. Welcome to Doom. Arcity's Silly. They're getting cut down. Vortex, we'll see you later, pal.
RC kills the first 2. I think it was Dave. He's like, nah, I don't want any of that. He just runs out, dies of the bombardment.
I imagine that was like you're with 3 other friends. You're outside. It's pouring down rain, and you have 1 umbrella, and everyone's just stacked underneath it. Like, please, don't get me wet. No, but then the person across from you has a gun.
He just ran in. He's like, watches his teammates die. He's like, I don't want to go challenge that guy. Completely forgets the bombardment is called on the outside. Oh, man. Well, Epsilon got around.
Yes, it did.
They did.
They did pick up around, but it has not looked pretty. Now,
no.
we know yesterday Epsilon started slow in the first series, and then they definitely played much better. I was wondering if maybe they come out with a little bit of a different effort here, but it's hard to even compare it when you're going up against eUnited versus...
It's completely different, too, because like yesterday with Millennium, there was a lot of energy coming from the Epsilon side of things. They're picking up kills. They're screaming. Really confident. Nothing today here against eUnited. It's obviously a different mindset. You come in, you expect to beat Millennium. It's a little bit easier to get kind of riled up, be more confident than coming in here against eUnited.
Well, up next is the Uplink. You heard Chance and the guys talking about it being the swing game. You saw Millennium take it versus eUnited yesterday. Can Epsilon do the same? We'll find out after this quick break. Let's take a look at our G Fuel key player matchup for eUnited versus Epsilon. It's going to be Silly and Josh.
Yeah, and you see Silly's stats not the prettiest there. Search and destroy, he's been pretty good, and we just saw him go off. Obviously going to raise that KD up even further, but Josh has been great for Epsilon in Uplink. Going to need him to show up big in Game 3.
Can they take the Uplink is the question. Silly versus Josh. That is your G Fuel key player matchup.
Welcome back, everyone. Before we get into game number 3, we're going to talk about eUnited and something that they love to do on Precinct Uplink. When they have middle map control, we're going to take a look. As you can see, they have that drone control. They're attacking top street, and we're going to get into a play that they love to do. So when they're able to get this mid-map and control this statue, Arcees, if he's able to pick up one gunfight, what Gunless loves to do is to take this drone, and really what he's baiting out is that call out. Josh and Dave then call out to Vortex that they're bringing the drone up towards security. So what Vortex will do is he'll come back, he'll wrap back. What that allows Pristini to do is come behind him. He'll pick up that kill on Vortex. Gunless then wraps it back, comes middle street. Well, wrong one. He brings that drone up towards the middle street. And what this allows them to do, it creates chaos in the Epsilon base. That allows eUnited to pick up those 1-point throws middle street towards that top security. That's just something that eUnited loves to do. When you're looking in the map number 3 for eUnited's uplink strategy, make sure you take a look at how they attack middle street. Back to the casters for game number 3.
Thank you, Joe. And yeah, actually, I went outside and talked to Luminosity a little bit after their series, and I was asking kind of why the EU teams seem to be getting some upsets here in Uplink, and they said they're much better at flanking, they're much better at wrapping the drone, where a lot of times you'll see North American teams outside of eUnited, they just kind of want to force their way in. They just
want to muscle their way in.
Exactly.
They just want to
bash.
Get the drone, kill you, go on forward. They don't want to try anything different than that.
Yeah, we want to go from this side. We're going to headbutt this until we get a point on the board, whereas you'll see a little bit more creativity at a lot of these teams from EU. But the question is, with as well as eUnited,
Epsilon needs a lot of creativity.
And eUnited is never a team that we talk about like just looking to bash and slay. Like, no, they're the ones that the teamwork. They're the ones that come up with the set plays. This is a very tough spot for Epsilon. I don't know, man. It's hard to have faith in them after how the first couple maps have gone.
And the scary part about eUnited is they're a team that can come up with those creative strategies and also outslay you. So it's a team that really, right now, it's kind of hard to find some flaws in. And when you look on the side of Epsilon, it's fairly easy to. It's a team that really needs to show up big here in this game 3. We talked a little bit about it, during the break. What have they done, really? I mean, they've been able to beat the teams from Europe. Coming into international competition, have not had that much success against the top NA teams. It's a big proving weekend for Epsilon.
And what a year for eUnited for these 4 guys to erupt. With more money on the line than ever, you have the 2 $500,000 playoffs and champs around the corner, and these guys are peaking at the right time. And I just feel like, when you come into a year being discredited by most of the community and you prove yourself, do you feel like they're going to be the hungriest team, like over this last stretch of 2 months? Like, out of all the teams, like, do you think they want it the most? I know it's a hard thing to answer, but
obviously, I think they do want it pretty bad. I think they're a team that's going to keep on grinding, not really going to kind of let up. I mean, you did speak when I spoke to Silly yesterday in the interview. I did mention, I've heard that he moved, Pristini moved. It's been hard for them to get some practice going in. But now that everybody's set up, there's no excuses.
Yeah, and you got some grinders. I mean, think about what were the top 2. They're going back and forth for a while in pro points as far as what they earned outside of events just online. It was like Arcides and Formal were 1 and 2. Like, they've been the 2 big grinders all year. So you have that dedication. You have the brothers that push each other. You have Gunless, who it doesn't matter what he's playing, he's going to be a phenomenal player. And Silly has been Mr. Consistent. Here we go. It is map 3, Epsilon versus eUnited. Epsilon trying to avoid this sweep. eUnited trying to bury the dagger.
spawned Arceus on the other side of the building from his teammates. It's going to wrap all the way around here towards Statue. You see, just like Joe was talking about, Pristini and Gunless trying to go in towards the middle, but Vortex able to pick up the kills. That's why I love the Telestrator when we get like Joe and Teep on it. Like, they just know so much. I mean, Vortex in the position that Joe had him in, Gunless and Pristini going to the same spots, but Vortex able to win both gunfights.
And the first deep toss is away and intercepted. That's going to be Arceus going up high, finding the pick and making sure Epsilon not able to strike first. We'll see if that ends up being a difference maker in this game. If we have a tight one down the stretch, Dave and Hockey come through, find some big kills. Everybody dropping outside of Silly. Silly doing a good job staying alive and finding one kill there at least to make sure. If he died faster, maybe Epsilon just hits and gets forward for 1 point toss. He at least delays a little bit there.
Possibly, but you see Epsilon trying to push the drone forward. They're going to pick up 2 kills. I believe it's going to be Vortex in the eUnited base. It looks like they were trying to get the drone up towards them, but they're going to settle for 1. That is a... Okay, so they get points on the board. Positive. Probably should have ended up being 2.
Yeah, it sort of seemed like Dave was taking his sweet time getting there. I'm not sure if they were trying to set something up, but the movement was just a little bit off. But they still do get the 1 point on the board. They've looked very solid throughout the opening of this game. Pristini taking some shots there. He's going to be working with a red dot as well. Vortex, who's been doing very, very well inside of lobby, continues to hold here. Josh finds a couple of kills outside. Now Vortex wants in on the action. Saw one at Statue. I don't know if he was relying on a teammate to get that kill, and he was just going to go ahead and push through, but unfortunately he gets tagged in the back.
Epsilon, though, they did a tremendous job of putting pressure on the eUnited side of the map. See, all the bodies from Epsilon just keeps flooding over towards that top statue area. But now here comes eUnited. Gunless with 2. Pristini with 1 in the feed. Now they're trying to set up this play.
And you see, he pokes up top. Now he starts to wrap back. It's going to be Arceus actually mid-street, but here they go. Arceus finds all 3, clears the way. 1 more to beat. Silly's found it, and there's the slam on home. Lead to eUnited 2 minutes into our first half.
The exact play we were breaking down on the Telestrator. They faked up top, went back down towards the bottom. Arceus picks up 3 kills. It's a big score there from eUnited. A 1 point throw goes off, so Epsilon will tie it up. But now it looks like eUnited getting back towards mid-map.
That was a nice job kind of countering the brilliant play there from eUnited. They're at least able to tie up the game. It's going to be Vortex with drone in hand yet again. He's been making a living inside a lobby. Now he's going to get E-Red out. Knows he needs to slay out front. First player in front. The timing could not have been worse there, but he gets away with his life. And now looking to make a play with the drone. Needs his teammates to find some kills. They can't pick up the 2 players that are actually underneath. Josh now gets them both. Chance for a dunk. There's the dish. There's the slam. Nice play from Epsilon. They're back in front.
It's a good 2 point play there as Epsilon. You know, just the 1 play from eUnited to put the 2 points on the board. The rest of this game has been dominated by Epsilon. You see eUnited, they get drone in mid-map. See what they do. It looks like they're going to throw this towards topside security. Just 1 more player there for eUnited. That's going to be Pristini. You see Gunless going on a bit of a flank there, and it looks like the drone going to get thrown forward a little bit, does not get reset. It's going to be Epsilon just trying to slay out here Maven, then they're going to try and pick up the drone and throw forward.
Well, they weren't able to slay out, so statue control will remain in the hands of eUnited. They're going to look for a wave of kills. RC is able to win the first gunfight. He saw a bit of Josh there in top ticket. Waiting for the peak to come as they build forward. 2 kills come through. Now they got to make a play. The attack is on. No hesitation. Dave able to stop 1, but he's the last line of defense. Spawner's coming off now, but Pristini guaranteed points here. Goes ahead and takes the 1 so he can get gun up. Maybe keep them pinned in their base. The last man up will be Silly. Still being a nuisance for a moment, but finally cut down. eUnited come away with 1 point there.
And now Arceus with the NV4 in hand. Look to see if he can just lock down this statue area and then maybe set up another play. But I feel like every time he's gotten to this position, or anyone from eUnited, gotten a statue, it's been the side of Epsilon that's been able to win these gunfights. And now you see Pristini trying to get the drone out. Nice pass there. Trying to push it forward. Silly not able to pick up the kill.
No time to reload, just trying to get in for the melee. Mid-street again for Arceus. Gets cut down before he can get the toss off. That was Dave and Josh playing some nice defense on their half of the map. They have drone now. They're wrapping it topside. Pristini ready and waiting inside a lobby. Spots 1. Nice kill there at range with the E-Rad as he picks it up. Silly involved in the action as well. Doesn't check his close corner. You saw Josh playing Marky B played that sneaky spot earlier. today. Josh only finds 1 kill out of that, though. With 10 seconds left and drone at reset, doesn't look like there's going to be any more action here to close.
And it's funny, you mentioned in the pregame, you know, maybe the European teams, they do a better job of flanking in uplink with the drone. That one from Epsilon was just straight muscle. They played that like a North American team.
Well,
statue side.
I think that's one thing that's sort of said about Splice and Epsilon. Of the European teams that play the most like North American teams, they're probably the 2 squads, right? A little bit different for sure. They're trying to go toe for toe. It just doesn't look right now, at least throughout the course of this series, that they have the ability to match eUnited. But at least in 5 minutes of gameplay there for the uplink, they did do it. Epsilon desperately needing a win here because, I mean, regardless win or loss, they need maps. And the series versus Luminosity is still huge tonight when you're talking about, you know, 2nd, 3rd place. But a win here, man, it would just be incredible. Nice job off the opening break.
Yeah, very good start here for Epsilon and something to keep your eye on. You know, Dave versus Gunless, trying to get that camo. 1-point throw goes in. Look how much closer Dave is than Gunless. Hockey lighting up the kill feed, picking up 5. They have the spawn trap in place. This is going to be more points for Epsilon here.
It should absolutely be more points. And, you know, Dave, he has 15 kills, also has the camo. He has all 6 of their points now as he continues to do it and slang and the objective. This is the Dave they need, right? Like, you need, I feel like every team, yes, you want consistency out of everyone, but you at least need 1 or 2 guys that are going to kind of go off every map, right? You have those 2 players that you know are going to find kills every single series for you. Dave's been a little bit up and down. They need him to bounce out.
Hockey starting to heat up here with the NV4. Went on a 5 streak, now picking up some kills over on Statue, and Gunless trying to make a play alone, trying to get that 1-point throw off. No teammate support, he is cut down. And now you see Dave already with that active camo.
We'll see what he can do with the camo. Gunless, with this much time left to play, I mean, he should still earn it, but he may need to pick things up a bit. Vortex and Dave picked off here at Cherry Blossom. It was Silly doing the damage. FTL jumped to go, but Hockey's prone and waiting for him back at his base on defense. But look at this again. Hockey goes huge, finds all the kills and opens things up. So now map control back in favor of Epsilon. Now let's see if they try any trickery or are they just going to try and take it up the gut. It looks like they're going to let Josh lead the way. Josh in the close corner, able to find it. Now going to take it back alley. You don't see this route too frequently. He has camo if needed. May not have to pop it. He says, screw it, I'm taking it. We go 3rd person. You see the fancy wall run and the slam. 9-3. And Dave, for the moment, still finding kills. He has 8 scores for his squad.
Yeah, and you just see when he goes on the wall with the camo, so difficult. The spot goes right over the top of a few players. Lands on down, able to take out 1 before he gets taken out finally. And Epsilon really coming back. This is shocking to me, quite frank. I mean, I know Epsilon, very talented team, probably the 2nd best team in Europe right now. But they looked completely out of the first 2 maps. They're showing up big time here in Game 3.
Right, if you take this, do you get some momentum going? Can you push it to a Game 5? I know we spoke about the fact that it's retaliation, which does not bode well for their chances, considering how good eUnited has been there. But you're still alive in the series. 2.5 to go, interception comes in. That's Hockey on defense, able to pick it off, and Vortex finding all the kills. Their base has now been cleared out, and it's now time to try and set up another attack here for the side of Epsilon.
eUnited's been getting pretty close. You see some kills in the feed right now for them. And see the drone thrown up towards Statue. Another one for eUnited. Pristini's going to pick up a 2nd on a 3 streak, but whew, I mean,
oh my God! All
right. I was going to say, I mean, he is going off, but they're just not getting anywhere on the map. I mean, all the kills are happening in the same exact area, not able to push forward.
Well, what do you think is the biggest difference for the scoreline? Because the slang, at least at a quick glance, is a little bit even, if not favoring eUnited by a couple of kills. How has Epsilon been able to take advantage? Just it's where the kills are coming, right? One on defense, the other doing on the attack. There's the overdrive, the 3rd person, the dodging. Can he get it through? There's another dunk for eUnited as they're trying to claw back in.
Patrick Price with a little special treat for the people at home with the 3rd person. I kind of like it when you see the 3rd person with the overdrive and the camo.
No, it's cool to see a different angle. Pat doing it all this weekend. He's actually retiring from Cloud9 to be a permanent observer. I'm sorry, Brian Saint, but you're welcome, Cloud9.
Pat's done it all. Analyst, player. Next week he's the stage host. See Vortex over the top. Right. 1-point throw. And that kind of puts this game out of reach right now. I mean, with no camo on the side of eUnited, all you have is your FTL jump. It'd be very difficult to make this comeback.
This is what they can do. I think when Dave plays like this, like they can go toe-to-toe. I mean, winning, I know most of the, well, all of the incredible performances we've seen recently from this team have been EU-only stuff, right? EU-only 2Ks that went back-to-back, the EU-only Birmingham event. So, you know, we haven't seen them in this form against North American teams, but you just feel like if Dave can have games like this where, you know, he's getting it done on the objective, he's leading all Slayers outside of Arcitys, it's pretty phenomenal stuff, and this team is scary, and they're right back in this series. The question is just going to be, with how ugly that first Hardpoint was, can they manage to take it against eUnited?
And we were wondering if we were going to see a rough game from Gunless, 16 and 27. Not a great performance from Gunless here. Does not get the camo. Well, obviously, I don't think would have made a huge difference. I mean, even if he did have the camo.
Maybe it's a role thing kind of in the uplinks, because I mean, when you look at his KDs, his lowest was an uplink. I remember he didn't earn camo against Luminosity in that uplink on Frost. He hasn't exactly been dazzling in that particular game mode, and it's opened up a bit of a window here for Epsilon to make some plays.
Which is quite weird, because his teammates are picking up a decent amount of kills. I mean, it's not like they're also kind of going negative and not able to pick up kills on the map either. So you got to wonder what's going on with Gunless and Uplink. Obviously, only two we're really worried about him that we've seen this far. If it's like a recurring issue, then you got to kind of question it. But I mean, right now, eUnited's still in control of this series.
Yeah, it's a pretty small sample size. It's tough when you're kind of searching for things to talk about flaws in Gunless's gameplay.
Yeah,
but there you do see a rough map. But the scary part is he was dominant in that game one. We're going back to a hard point. You expect him to be amazing again. The question is, your two main guys from a slaying perspective, and Hockey and Dave on the other side, are they going to be able to match the likes of Arcitys and Gunless? Can they keep up?
So you think it's Dave? I think it's Hockey. I think Dave has been putting pretty consistent games, but like Hockey, like is really kind of up and down, and especially with Josh not putting forward like monster games, big games as well. You really need that slaying from Hockey and Vortex.
Exactly. It seems kind of lacking that consistent slayer that you just know is going to go for 30 kills every game. I mean, they're very rare. I know you don't have a lot of those players in the Call of Duty World League, but
sure they would love to have one.
It's very helpful. It's like when you talk about the NBA, you love having that 20 and 10 guy, right? He's going to have 20 points and 10 rebounds. They're rare, but it's just such a huge thing to have on your team.
My favorite whenever they talk about the 20 and 10 guys, is Shaq is always like, oh, he should be average like 28 and 15. Like,
yeah, right.
Shaq ever did that.
Shaq's stats were kind of stupid.
Yeah, they were.
Back when he was playing, but we're looking forward. For our European viewers, we're talking about basketball.
Yeah, that is basketball. Shaquille O'Neal is a former professional basketball player.
Now a professional goofball. I don't know what he does.
He's an analyst. He's something that you're not.
What, dude? I'm still a great analyst. Breaking down gameplay from all across the globe.
Oh, man. I really worry for a day where like you are actually the analyst.
You want to hear some?
I can't believe when you casted with Scott Gandhi, you were the analyst.
Oh, back at Ghost, I was the color guy for like a full year, which was weird because people believed what I said. But going into this next one, I'll give you some analysis.
Oh yeah, yeah, hit me.
Epsilon 250 to 180, and why is that going to be the scoreline?
Why is that?
Because that's how I feel.
So you're arbitrarily picking Epsilon, and you're just throwing out, what's the map?
I sure as hell am.
What map is it?
I have no idea, Matt. But I'm taking them 250 to 180.
Okay, it's throwback.
It could be any map. Throwback? Oh,
the map is throwback.
250 to 170 now that I know it's throwback.
Oh, okay.
You're welcome.
Epsilon, according to Maven, will force a Game 5.
Yes, they will. Then they're going to get 6-0'd.
Oh, and then they get 6-0 in the Game 5. Well, the Call of Duty World League is, to you, it's like WWE, where you're just writing the storylines in the back.
Aches, you're in my ear. Where are you to provide me with information right now? You're supposed to be my guy on the inside.
You see
give me some help.
Series score, so you get back on track.
He said 250 to 195 eUnited. So
oh, okay.
That would have been nice earlier.
That makes a little bit more sense. 11-5, Epsilon wins Game 3. See the score lines for Game 1 and 2. They were not too close. Epsilon actually did hang in the first hard point for a little bit, but eUnited blew it open in the second half. The search and destroy was not close in favor of eUnited 6-1, but that one Epsilon dominated. It's a respawn game where they dominated going into this next hard point. They're trying to force that Game 5. This would be a huge upset win for Epsilon if they could take the series and put them in a very good position in the group overall.
And this is a map where Epsilon has to keep it close. It's not like a breakout where you see wild comebacks, or even a retaliation where you can chain together a couple of big hard points. If you trail here early, they're going to lose. It's like you're just watching something slowly die. When you start out poorly on throwback, they have to start out nicely.
We'll see how eUnited fares off the rip. See Gunless with ERAD in hand, charging towards mid-map. Should see Arcitys get up top, look over him with the NV4. but it's Josh with an NV4 in his hands, going to take RCs out here first.
They weren't ready for Gunless to come from this backside. Nobody hit kind of the train side of the map. Gunless finally does fall, so Epsilon going to be the first team to rack up some points here. But not a lot to be told from this first hardpoint. Rarely do you see teams get a whole lot done. It's going to be Barn where we're going to see a lot of this breakdown. Now with 30 seconds left, you can see the spawn coming at the top left of the map for Silly and crew. So that's where you're going to want to spawn for the next hardpoint. They have control of that so far. Is Epsilon able to do anything to disrupt? That's the question.
Yeah, well, Epsilon at the beginning of this game, they put a lot of emphasis on, getting those spawns. You see at the, the first 30 seconds, nobody really had a lot of hill time. They were trying to push all the way through down towards Bike Path. That was not successful. And then now, I mean, the kills just all in favor of eUnited. A 3 streak for Silly, 2 for Arcities, 1 apiece for Gunless and Pristini. And right now, when Epsilon is trying to push through, they are just getting mowed down.
Yeah, screw getting to Barn. They can't get to mid-map. Finally, they break through as Vortex finds a few of the pressure. Now coming to Pristini on the courtyard side. He's going to wisely back down as he saw one go over the top, calls it out to his teammates, but they're dropping like flies on the backside, and now the break is on. They're trying to find the play, but Pristini still holding tough. One more, slides underneath, not able to do it. That's Vortex, I think, with 4 kills, yeah, across the map. He got 2 at mid-map to open things up. He got 2 in Barn to try and win it. Unfortunately, though, he needs a little bit of help from his teammates here if they're going to hold it.
Yeah, unfortunately, Gunless just comes in and murders 2 people with the E-Rad. Just slides on in, has teammate support now coming in as well. And just like when you thought that Epsilon was going to get a good break, they do get some time back at the end here, but this should have been, a solid, 45 points for Epsilon. That break there by Gunless gives eUnited a good amount of time on this hill.
Look at the final 5 ticks as well, and now if you take a look at the bottom right of the minimap, there's that number 7 and number 3. I believe that was Hockey actually one on the backside of the bike path, so the spawns are going to flip a little bit here as we get set up for our next hard point. Time going the way of Hockey. No one able to contest in yet. His teammates covering over the top, but as one drops, now the flood's going to come through. He sees his teammates dropping all around him, just trying to do what he can to stay alive. Nades flying. There should be somebody soaring at him with an E-Rad momentarily, but he continues to win. There it comes. Gunless then flies him from behind. 3 down for Epsilon, and a clean break here for eUnited.
See everybody from Epsilon spawning pretty far away. They do have control of Bike Path, which will be coming up next, but right now they can't really afford to give up this time to eUnited. I mean, the free 30 seconds for eUnited when they're already up. No 40 seconds, not the best strategy here for Epsilon, and you do see Dave, 6 and 11, getting off to a rough start. I mean, nobody really playing well for Epsilon thus far.
And like I said, you can't get down early like this because you just don't have those hard points where you can chain together a few and mount that quick comeback. It's just like clawing tooth and nail to try and get back into a hard point game on throwback. Look at Silly's stats. They are Silly. 18 and 7 to go, dropping bombs here in this. And on the other side, the guy we said needed to have a big game, and Dave, 7 and 11.
Silly's been fantastic.
Yep, he really has.
All day long, and here comes Trinity from Gunless.
Keep hiding in blue.
Yep.
Oh, that poor guy that spawned up. That was Vortex. He's like, thanks, guys, for hiding in blue, popping me out in the field, and I caught one to the face.
I mean, Gunless now on a 7 streak. He's starting to heat up. eUnited pulling away here against Epsilon. Everybody coming towards mid-map. Gunless, they're finally going to be able to take him out. But the damage is done. I mean, 17 seconds left here on baseball. At best, Epsilon gets in, gets, 10 seconds at most.
Wow. Yeah,
not give up that much time.
This is brutal. What I tell you, man, eUnited was going to crush him.
Oh, I completely forgot you actually made that prediction up until you brought it up.
I was rooting for Europe.
Yep.
I'm a European at heart. I don't know what that means.
I don't even want to know what it means, to be honest.
Yeah, all of Europe just took a sigh of relief knowing that's not true.
Like, can we trade him back?
Yes, please, we don't want him.
Like, we'll take chance.
Oh, Josh now set up mid-map. The red dot getting it done. He's able to take out Arcities. Epsilon trying to build this comeback. Josh doing a phenomenal job top mid on just regaining control here, making sure they rack up as much time. And this has been the best hard point from Epsilon, and it's the one you least expect them to get it done on.
I tell you what, though, it's huge for them, though. They get back into this game. You see everybody in the slaying department start to heat up. Dave was on a 3 streak. Josh now on a 6 streak. They know their series life is dependent on, this map.
And I'll have to
up in a big way. Now he's starting to get some score streaks.
This might be the full streaks he's chasing. He's got 10 bullets left in the clip. There it is. Bombardment, Trinity, Scarab, ready to go for Josh. And look at the top of the map. That number 7 is going to be Hockey. He's ready. He just spawned his teammate Vortex with him as well. And they're going to be set up in barn. Maybe this is the rally you needed for Epsilon. They're rolling back into this one. Now trailing by 30 points. You're going to have a hit from the top, a hit from the bottom of the map. The first pick going to go the way of Gunless. Can Epsilon continue to hold on? Just comes up a little bit short there. Silly plays his life. It's actually a Scarab that finishes it. Josh comes through it too.
Huge kills coming in for Epsilon. eUnited spawning mid-map. Now they have to flood down towards the bottom. Epsilon getting very close to taking the lead here. A game that we kind of counted them out. They were just not looking good here at the beginning of this hardpoint. They have rallied on Train and here on Barn to make this a game.
Well, yeah, the reason I said it's tough to come back on this is because very rarely can you chain together 2 really good hardpoints. Because very rarely do you dominate top mid like they were able to do. They basically had a perfect hold, and they held the spawns here for Barn. Barn was beautiful stuff, but these final 20 points are going to go over to eUnited. What Gunless has Bombardment. I believe Silly only had Trinities that he used. And then on the other side, you saw streaks come through for Josh. So those will be crucial in this down the stretch. Who's going to get the better use out of them?
You see the Bombardment come down now. It's going to force players inside. Hockey with 2, Dave with 1. Epsilon gets control of Bike Path, and now you hear Epsilon. They're starting to get loud in the venue. You hear the energy. They're starting to pick up their gameplay. This is the Epsilon we expect to see all day long until Gunless kills 3 of them with a miss.
And we asked about who might get the better uses out of it. Yes, Josh has scared everybody into the window, but Gunless has killed everyone, just destroyed them on Bike Path. If you're Epsilon here, you just got to contest. Make sure you do what you can. 2, where's the 3rd? His teammate cuts him down, and Gunless continues to destroy. We talked about how good he was in the game 1, how you expect him to go off here on Hardpoint. 26 and 15, 90 seconds in the Hardpoint. God, he is one special player.
And he does have the active camo. So with Epsilon controlling baseball here, maybe you invest the camo into trying getting this hill. Or if you're eUnited, maybe you just kind of a little worried. Maybe this game may go all the way to the distance, get a little bit closer. Maybe you save camo for Barn.
Looks like he's holding on for it now. Maybe he expects this to be a tight game. There's still multiple players in the back. There's the camo, just staying alive, waiting for his team. What a beautiful use here, just to bide his time, get into a corner. Arsity picks up kills. He's the perfect bait. Vortex still up, but I love the play from Gunless. Just stays alive and waits for help.
Yeah, he was just great bait for his team. I mean, uses the camo. The players on Epsilon are so worried. They know he's back there. His teammates come through the front side. They pick up some kills. He comes out of camo. All his teammates are dead, though.
Yeah. It worked out really well for a few seconds, but they don't win the gunfights they needed to. Arsity's got 2. Nobody backed that up. Epsilon only down 20. Josh still has some streaks to work with. I believe just the Trinity in his pocket when it's needed. They are going to be down just 3 points here as we get to rotate out. I lied to you, 4 points, but this is a tight one, baby.
And that's a huge kill by Silly. It stops Hockey's streaks. You know, if Hockey's able to pick that kill up, maybe gets further towards full streaks. Epsilon will not have those later in the game. So you see, but Epsilon really may have. I mean, they turned it up in the department in the second half. Dave with a big 2-piece. They have control of Train yet again. They have control of the spawns for Barn. And now Dave has the camo. You don't have camo on the side of eUnited.
It's true, you don't have camo and you still have the streaks available. Dave has turned up so big. 4 kills in a row. Hockey looking over him. He has erupted. We were knocking him at the beginning of this game. What was he, 5 and 12? Something like that to get started. Now, just going nuts. He saw one player in window, relying on his teammates to pick that up. He snaps onto Silly, tries to snap onto a second, finally will fall. But now it's a 20-point advantage for Epsilon, and they're spawning back Barn.
This could be the game for Epsilon. They can hold Barn. They're in a fantastic spot to close this out. eUnited, though, coming on the break. 2 kills for eUnited. Make it all 4 dead for Epsilon.
All right, so you have camo for Dave. You have reactive to work with as well. You got some things to toy with. I think Josh still had the Trinity rocket. I could be lying to you, but let's see if they can make the play now. 40 seconds on Barn. They're trailing by a couple of points, trying to get it done. Vortex finds an opening pick, but it's going to be reactive armor used on the side of eUnited, which is going to give him 2 easy kills. There's the camo around the backside. He's being tagged up, though, just trying to find a play. The camo's going to run out, and it gets nothing. Everybody drops the reactive greater than the camo in that circumstance.
Well, both camos get negated out, and you will see. Silly inside of the hardpoint, dives out here, gonna try and watch the backside. He's able to get one, picks up a second. Silly on a 3 streak. 34 kills for Silly in this game. But the game will not end here. We will be going to bike path.
Let's get over to bike. There's a battle going down. I think I saw Pristini playing in a sneaky corner. He actually did get a kill before dropping, but it's 2 now. Coming through for Epsilon. Arcides, nice play around the back, but he will be tagged up by Hockey. Kills going back and forth. Epsilon just has to play this, I mean, better than 50-50. They have to at least contest throughout the majority of this.
Yeah, I think best case for Epsilon, you kind of contest and you can hold the spawns for baseball and win it there. I mean, there is no camo to break it down.
I love that push.
Josh pushing straight through. You see streaks coming down from eUnited. They're forced to kind of just get inside by that Centurion. They actually back up. Pristini's going to be able to get 2.
That's that 6 streak he went on in in Barn, I believe, where he started to pick up a couple of streaks. They're coming crucial down the stretch. We've done a good job contesting now. All the kills now come through for eUnited. What are you looking at, man?
Oh, and you actually have Josh with his reactive armor for the next hard point. 10 seconds left here. Josh just trying to look over. He's going to go down and contest these last few seconds. Picks up 1. He's going to get taken out by Silly. But now you're going to have this Centurion drop for Epsilon. They're in a very good spot here, Maeve, although they're behind.
Well, Josh spawned out in courtyard. Arcides playing this corner. Josh might run right out in front of him. I don't think he's going to be ready for him to be in this position at all. Arcides just waiting for his teammate to get ready to go. The streaks keep on raining in. Hockey at least able to take out 1, but now Arcides and crew in, and now Josh is going to have to use this reactive armor. eUnited only needs 15 points. Josh trying to get there as quickly as possible. He should just pop this in swords. They have to get in. Here we go. Around the edge, he's able to get 1 assist, snap onto the second, and now you busted through. There's the 3rd. Josh making the plays. They can actually win it here with a perfect hold.
And I don't believe there's any score streaks left on the side of eUnited. I believe Pristini's bombardment was the last thing they had. You see Josh picking up kills. Vortex on a 3 streak as well. Can Epsilon hold on?
Epsilon, 1 drop. Silly actually gets 2. Silly finding the kills to bust on in. Dave still holding strong, but they need to get there. They spawned out. There's nobody that's going to be able to get there in time. The final seconds tick away, and it's too little, too late for Epsilon. eUnited get it done.
Man, Silly was huge in that game for eUnited. I believe finishes things with 43 kills.
What a game.
Insane comeback by Epsilon, just not enough in the end.
Oh man, they were so close to taking it. You know, you saw a nice reactive armor used on the side of eUnited. They have so many streaks to work with because you had Silly go off at one point. Pristini earned them, Gunless as well. And honestly, bike path where Epsilon was set up pretty nice for you saw the streaks just cleared out.
The 7 streak from Pristini was huge.
It was like a sneaky one really quickly there at Bar.
Yeah, a lot of those score streaks that Gunless and Silly had earlier in the game got wasted. You know, we saw a camo kind of burn. I like the use of Gunless's camo, just his teammates don't pick up some of the kills there. You know, Dave kind of wasted that camo. Maybe you have that a little bit later in the game. Can make a play with it, but Pristini's streaks towards the end were huge for eUnited.
Wow, what a back and forth battle. eUnited continue to come up when it matters most. They get the W there, and on the floor, we've got Jack with Arcides.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Another big win for eUnited there. I think this crowd's behind them. Give it up for them. They're now 3-0. Absolutely. I'm joined now by Arcides on the main stage, and you guys did just best Epsilon, but I want to talk about what was going wrong for you towards the second half of that map, because you started off pretty hot, and then things weren't going your way. Were you just getting caught in awkward engagements? What was going wrong for you?
They just out-rotated us, and they just start snaking everything.
Well, they most certainly were able to use that to their advantage to get the positioning. Now, that game, Gunless starts going off. Silly has some clutch kills. Even while you did slow down a little bit, your teammates were able to pick up the pace. Are these some of the most consistent players you've ever had on your team? How confident are you and your teammates always to make the big plays?
I always trust my teammates. They do everything perfect, and all I have to do is get rotations for them. It's just perfect.
That's an easy role to have, right? Especially with the NV4 in your hand. Now, you've beaten everybody in this group up to this point. You're now 3-0. What improvements do you think you can make moving forward now for your second match today?
Uplink.
Uplink, simple as that. What's wrong with it? What do you guys need to work on more specifically?
We're just not in the right places at the right time, so it just screws us at the end.
Yeah, you could see there's some room for improvement there, which is always good to see. As one of the best teams in the world, need to be able to know where your squad needs to go next. Now, final question for you. Gunless is someone that always seems to be putting up some big numbers. Pristini, obviously always your brother, get involved. Silly gets some of the limelight himself, but I think you're the guy on this team that I'm the biggest fan of. make a point out there for all the United fans. Why should people be hyped up about Arcides when he's on the map?
Because my teammates do everything and I just have to kill people.
There you go. Arcides, his one job is to get kills. Makes it easy for him there. I know our analysts are ready, though, to break down this series.
All right, thank you so much, Courage. I'm a big fan of Arcides as well, and if you guys don't already, follow him on Twitter. He's a funny guy. Pretty short in the interviews, though, and this has kind of been something brand new for eUnited. First time playing on the main stage was back in Atlanta. We saw them win the tournament there. Dallas, they take Optic Gaming to 2 grand finals, and now they're at the top of week 3, dominant here with a 3-0 lead. Let's talk about this squad overall, though. We saw a pretty close game number 1. The search wasn't close at all, but then there were some struggles in Uplink. Takeaways from this match, guys, against Epsilon?
United, just the best team. I mean, they're one of the juggernauts, right? It's them and Optic at the top. Everyone else is just playing for 3rd place, essentially, just hoping to vie for that spot. And Epsilon even, you know, when they were playing against Millennium yesterday, they were loud. They were getting hyped. They were talking trash. They were feeling themselves. But against United, they were quiet. There was nothing there. So, like, going into the series, I expected them to get beat, and I think they did, too. There was nothing really they did that kind of proved otherwise. They had a breath of life in that final hardpoint, but that was about it.
Fellas, as we take a look here at the box score from game number 1, big standout here was the Turbine Hill once again. They also had total control of the hangar. Where was Epsilon going wrong? Why was eUnited able to take control of the Money Hills?
I think the biggest thing we need to focus on is Pristini on a lot of these rotations, specifically on Turbine, on Scorch. The things that I see him do, they know perfectly when to wait for their teammates to sort of spawn up in a wave. They don't make a push, they don't challenge a gunfight until they have 4 people ready to converge on whatever happens on it, and that's why they're so good at trading. And when you're focusing on those huge rotations for those money hills, that's exactly what you need to do. It's a simple thing to do, but the communication and the timing of it is the most important. eUnited does it so well.
Arcides on those rotations, he talks about it. My teammates do everything. All I have to do is give them the spawns. eUnited definitely controlling the spawns much better in the second half. Felony, tell me a little bit about just the player movement, though, because you were comparing Pristini to Gunless to Arcides. They all have their own different styles when it comes to just in-game play movement.
So when a player like Pristini is doing really good in slaying, it's really important because of how fast he plays. Him picking up those 2 pieces is a lot more impactful because of how fast he's playing compared to Arcides, for example. With him and Gunless both going off, it's really hard for them to lose a hard point. They just had perfect breaks towards the end, and they ended up closing out the Scorch hardpoint.
Yeah, and to commentate about the Scorch hardpoint and the speed specifically, it was Gunless had 51 engagements, and he was plus 11 in the kills. Pristini was right behind him with like 49 engagements, and again was positive on the scoreboard. So they're playing incredibly fast, and they're still going positive. On the flip side of things, Josh, I think he had 49 engagements as well, so he was keeping up, and he was doing okay in the kills, but then there was no one else. I think it was Vortex, had as many engagements, but was dying so much more. So they're playing at incredible speed, those 2 players specifically, and they're doing it effectively, and it's just not something a lot of teams can keep up with.
We saw flashes of brilliance from Epsilon in their respawn games. At moments, players are putting streaks together, getting fully streaked out, having their score streaks available. At the end, though, it looks like they were just a little bit overpowered when it came to the head-to-head matchup. Let's talk about how that went down in the Search and Destroy's TP. I know you and Felony were discussing kind of the Search and Destroy strategies being shown, and both teams were playing pretty similar, but one team definitely had the advantage.
I mean, you have to respect the way Epsilon was playing that Crusher in specific. But when, you know, they're trying to play that 4-stacking style over towards the site, the sort of usual play for Crusher. When you're playing a quote-unquote better team, you know, you can expect eUnited to perform better in those situations. The trades were solid from Epsilon, but it came down to those 1 versus 1, 1 versus 2 situations where things were happening very quickly, and that's where the individual talent from eUnited shone through, especially in a lot of those early rounds. They're getting loud. I think Silly got a quick 2-piece to win a round. Arcee's got a quick 2-piece to win a round. So when all those rounds happen, you need to try and slow it down. Epsilon sort of did the opposite, tried to play as fast as possible, and it kind of hurt him here.
Yeah, to add on to what Teep said, Silly starts off the game 6-0 in the first round. He gets a 3-piece, defuses the bomb. When that team has that much momentum going into the search, you kind of want to slow it down, maybe like play a spread, see what the other team's doing. Instead of playing into their game, Epsilon just kept forehitting and kept going and going and going, and eUnited just ate it right up.
And then the only times they did mix stuff up, I know there was one point they sent 2 players on the flank on defense. Silly at that point had streaks. So even when they do mix things up, there's only so much you can do with a Trinity rocket in the air. Then they get picked apart because now 4 players are flooding into just 2. Easy gunfights for eUnited to win, and they already already know where the other 2 players are. So the one time they try and mix things up, streaks are just too much.
I'm told we have a highlight. Let's take a look here at game number 2. This is round 3, and it's looking like a 3-on-4 situation here after losing Silly early. eUnited still clutching up with Gunless, doing work with Arcides.
Gunless picks up a big double right there, just waiting on his teammate. You can just see the movement is so on point. RC's the last one alive, wins a huge gunfight there at the staircase. Specifically with these NV4s, you don't really expect people to win gunfights in that close quarter scenario with that weapon. But the fact that Gunless gets those 2 kills, and I think the underestimated thing that people might not look at there is how much time he bought Arcides. What is it, a second and a half, where they had to push up to trade those kills. Epsilon has to push into that choke, and Gunless single-handedly puts his teammate in a good spot to win it.
Yeah, that's one thing that's very underrated about Gunless that a lot of people don't really realize is when he's picking up those 2 pieces, it's not like he instantly just gets a kill or dies. He always stays alive and just kind of waits for one of his teammates to get into a position to where they can trade the kills, which is really important.
Well, we finally saw eUnited run out of steam in game number 3, and Epsilon showed you how they were able to take down the likes of Splice just a few weeks ago. Epsilon putting on a show in the Uplink, and let's take a look at some of these highlights, guys. Talk to me through this game as we see 7 scores in the second half. Dave showing up and living up to the hype that he had coming in.
Yeah, and one of the problems for eUnited specifically is they seemed out of position. So Epsilon played it not anything crazy. They weren't mixing it up constantly like Millennium was doing. They were playing the standard way, but they were doing it effectively. And eUnited on the flip side of things, there was even a moment Felony pointed out where Gunless, after they score points, he pushes in a back alley, and that's where you want the opposing team to spawn. But instead, there's the ones that are cutting those off. So miscommunication, some bad slip-ups from eUnited, and then Epsilon took full advantage.
And here is that spot right there, TB, where Gunless pushes out, and Epsilon right away just jumps on the opportunity.
Oh, it's beautiful, beautiful play right there. They know the situation where they can get points back on the board. One thing I have to note, sick 4-piece from Hockey, by the way.
Yeah.
That's
what?
Awesome. Have to yell out a bit after that. But the biggest thing I see from these EU teams is, they do a good job of putting the NA teams, it seems like they're practicing Uplink better. And what I mean by that is they're making them rotate to the side of the map here. You don't really see teams utilize those back alley strategies on that weak side of the map. On all the Uplink maps, it seems like they're very comfortable. You saw Millennium doing it earlier where they rotate the drone and it forces the other team to rotate to that weak side of the map, and then they just take it back to the strong side. So it's just that slight movement, the sort of wrapping style we saw in Black Ops 3 specifically. They're kind of utilizing that here in Infinite Warfare, and it's working out well for them.
Yeah, instead of just sitting there with a lot of NA teams do now is we sit there and fight cat statue the whole entire time. But Epsilon, Splice, Millennium, all these teams, they're wrapping ball to the construction. They're taking it out the hallway, just hitting quick ones and keeping ball control and keeping them trapped in their base.
It's kind of crazy because this used to be a weakness for Europe. They weren't so great at Uplink a few games ago. Now you look at these teams and they're causing problems with the best we have in North America. If you look at the one weakness so far for eUnited, it may be their Uplink play so far in this tournament. Game 4, though, this was the best showing. Despite a Game 3 win for Epsilon, they showed some strength in this final hardpoint. I feel like they turned up just a little bit too late. Where was eUnited able to steal this game back and kind of close the door on Epsilon and stop that comeback?
In my mind, it was 100% the streaks. So, I mean, Arcides even pointed out in his interview, they were getting constantly out-rotated. Like, through the entire game, Epsilon was able to, as a team, outplay eUnited, but the individual plays coming from eUnited was too much, because if you get to that baseball field hill, doesn't matter if you're there first, if the other team has streaks, you have to run, you have to duck for cover, and then they know exactly where you are. And it's an incredibly difficult spot to be in. And there was, what, 3 Trinity Rockets and a bombardment called in? Like, eUnited just had it all.
Epsilon had all the momentum going into that last barn hill, and that's where they screwed it up. They had the spawn, they had the rotation, everything was in their favor. Most of all, they had 3 payload abilities that they had at their availability. They didn't pop down that Centurion, and when I didn't see Hockey pop that down, I think that was sort of the losing moment for them. They got, 2 hills, 1 in a row, a bunch of time back in their favor, and most of all, at barn, those streaks can't come into play. If you extend that game out, eUnited did a good job of contesting and winning those gunfights, but if you just pop those payloads a little bit earlier, you get so much time at barn and sets you up for success in the later parts of that game.
Yeah, and then what actually happened with the Centurion is he puts it in the outside hill, the bombardment gets called in, and it takes it down, so the payload is gone. You burn the active camo on barn, and we saw the clip of it. He's dancing around in the hill, still getting shot at because he's by himself. Meanwhile, if you use that on baseball field, you can just run straight to the back of the map, get behind the entire team, because again, you're invisible. You with god powers, essentially, and you're in an incredible spot, and we already know that the game is going to get that far. We already know the bike hill is always contest heavy, and no one's going to rack up a huge score on it. So we know the situations. They already knew to save the Centurion. They know the game's going to get that far, but just mishaps with it. They weren't very effective.
We got plenty more games to go, but before we leave this series, I do want to ask Felony, you talked about it. You saw double mistakes coming from Epsilon on this same game mode. They made the same final minute mistake against Luminosity yesterday. How do they fix their opponent spawning close to them on that last hill? What are they doing wrong?
So at the end of the game like that on Bikes Hill, there was not enough time for eUnited to win the game. And what they should have done was just realize that and then realize, hey, if we get 50 seconds on this next hill, we win the game. Give up that time, play a close setup next to the hill, slay out one wave of kills, and after you slay out that one wave of kills, then push out a little bit. Against Luminosity yesterday, they made the same mistake of not playing a tight setup, and then they get killed, they spawn out, they lose the game.
All right, so that's what they got to look out for. Focus on the spawns a little bit more at the end of the game. That's something that RCDs has been doing for eUnited all weekend long. He was Mr. X Factor in day one, and he's showing up big again on day two. We'll get a chance to see eUnited once again on the main stage. When we return, it's going to be primetime eUnited taking on Millennium.